Well, guess what, gamers? I finally made the Pikmin cave ranking video. So, back in the area tier list video, I said, wait for the cave ranking next video. Which, didn't actually mean next video, I just kinda meant I was thinking of doing one. Whoops. Well, it's here now, so get ready to hear all of my deranged but objectively right takes on all these caves. I'm one of those people who thinks 2's caves are really cool, and they should come back in 4, at least as some kind of challenge mode thing. They're a really neat concept, but some of them are definitely better executed than others. After the obligatory chart and shameless Twitter plug, let's talk about the number 14 spot, which, as anybody who's watched the Red Only run, which you should also totally watch, saw coming as soon as this video popped up. I'm just gonna go ahead and say what I said during the Red Only video. I hate this cave. It's tedious, it's dangerous, it's possible to lose Pikmin even if you're careful, and there's a sub-level with 2 groinks. There's an insane amount of Dirigibugs and a bunch of hazards, and I hate the mana legs. The fight is either a huge loss or really annoying and nerve-wracking whenever I do it, because the fast strat requires exploding, and the good strat has you deal a small amount of damage and then go hide behind a wall while it fires, which doesn't even work if it gets too close. Sure, it's possible, and easier than I'm making it out to be, but it's always been a fight I've disliked on principle. I wanted to take another look at the rest of the cave, because another thing that bugs me about this cave format is how many items they decide to drop on you, namely explosives. Nowhere else in the game is this more prevalent than on Subterranean Complex, sub-level 5. I'll let the sped up footage under my talking speak for itself, but I'll rant about this too. The amount of explosives on this infamous sub-level is the worst. Sure, you can take care of these kinds of levels by just taking a captain and smacking all the bombs and blowing up the dweevils, but the fact that one of the best strategies in a Pikmin game is not using the Pikmin really just goes against the principle of the series in my eyes. The Pikmin games are about managing what little time you have to most efficiently get all the things you need. 2's gameplay style is a lot more laid back, with no real limit to how much time you can spend in any area, with the exception of the day's time limits and the submerged castle. This is normally fine, but it's still fun to speedrun the game, or even just get through the caves as fast as you can, but just slowly going through and smacking some rocks isn't Pikmin to me. With that said, at number 13, we have the opposite end of the Pikmin spectrum. While some people might say the Water Wraith is a cool gimmick that puts a time limit on the cave, I think that's stupid. Most of the Pikmin community hates this cave because either A, Water Wraith is big and scary and annoying and kills things, valid point, but it is admittedly a really neat concept for the series. Or B, the time limit doesn't work with how the cave is set up. When you have a certain amount of time before Death Incarnate spawns from the ceiling, steamroller hands and all, you would assume they'd put in some enemies that are relatively quick and easy to kill. A few blowhogs and anode beetles, maybe a bullboard or 2, but not this many dweevils. There's a fiery one on like sub-level 2 right next to where you have to take a treasure back. And let me tell you, it's really annoying trying to get a treasure off a dweevil with GameCube controls. They do this again by dropping an anode dweevil on you right next to a treasure on the next floor, which is even worse because all you have is blues that it'll just insta-kill. Sure, you can punch it, but it'll take some time, especially if you don't have the brute knuckles yet. Cool concept, but it really clashes with the level design, which is unfortunate. I've actually cleared it before on the Wii version without activating the Wraith until the end, which was a neat achievement, but on the original, it gets tough. I do want to take that into account, which is why it isn't at the bottom, along with the fact that it has Bulbman. Pretty obvious F tier for this one. It has 2 floors and the only enemies are snowy bulborbs. It's an alright tutorial and introduces you to candy pops and purples well enough, but doesn't do a great job of showing you how the rest of the caves end up going. There's not too much to talk about anyway because it's so short, but it has 3 treasures, 2 on the first floor, which is 2 rooms with some snowy bulborbs, and the funny globe things on the second floor with even more bulborb wannabes, and the purple candy pops. That's about it, so on to number 11. This is a pretty annoying cave with some cringe enemies. The boss fight is interesting, but it's really annoying to fight boosters without lock-on. Embarrassingly, it took me a few tries to get past level 1 in the Red Only run because I wasn't used to fighting Wally Wogs with GameCube controls, and the electricity was messing with me a bit. After that, the cave was pretty easy, but really underwhelming for what seemed like it was supposed to be one of the first Endgame caves. I don't have much to say about this cave, so let's move on. This cave gives you lights and not much else. The knapsack is fun, but really only useful in speedruns, and there isn't that much difficulty. The introduction to poison hazards on sub-level 4 is good, but the first couple levels before you actually reach the ivory candy pops feel really pointless and short. You get your first introduction to the burrowing snacker at one of the series' classic bosses, and I really enjoy fighting it even with GameCube controls. If you weren't aware yet, I'm bashing these controls a lot during Pikmis, because the Wii remotes are so much better. Whites are funny little guys, but not really my favorite Pikmin type, and that's pretty much how I feel about this cave. Well, it lives up to its name. It's time to talk about the infamous 50+ Dwarf Bullboard sublevel. This cave has an annoying floor with so many Dwarf Bullborbs that if you kill them all, the game literally cannot process the amount of entities. The max carryable object number is like 64, I think, thanks to partially frequent Pikmin facts on Twitter for posting that, and start to despawn the corpses. Top it off with 2 Gatling Groinks and you've got a pretty awful floor. At least the purples make it somewhat easy. You can take your little squadron to stomp on any baby in your path, except they're not actually infant Bullborbs, thanks Nintendo, and take out the Groinks easily enough, then do some quick switching to take them back before they respawn. If you have enough Bitter Spray, you can also just kill them. But now it's time to talk about one of my actual least favorite sublevels in the game, not really because it's tough, but because I've had bad experiences with it. Sublevel 2, home of 3 mandatory fiery Bulbaxes. You can take these things out easily enough with some spray and a few reds, but when you learned about the spray glitch like 2 months ago and have been trying to beat these things with the like 20 reds you brought with you, it gets annoying quickly. On top of that, I couldn't even use reds in the run I did to get footage for this, so here, go ahead and watch me do whatever I did to beat these guys because I'm writing this in advance. And as an extra Cupid's grenade on top, I hate the segmented Crobster. It's an annoying obscure boss that I forget every time I play this game. Anyway, moving on. Pretty bare bones, but a decent cave. Its layouts are pretty easy and boring, but it is the first real cave in the game. This is a much better intro to the game's main mechanic than Immersion's Cave, giving you an easy first floor with some twisting paths and a treasure or two, and then a rest floor, which became a staple of the longer, tougher caves. Floor 3 is filled with fire hazards, and floor 4 has a Bullboard and another random candy pop. The first Empress Bulbax fight is pretty much the perfect difficulty and shows you how much you need to be careful against bosses in this series. The audio and visual cues tip you off to when she's about to do her big rolling attack, and you get the treasure cage after you're done, which is a big help for the rest of the game. Definitely not bad, but not really the most exciting hole. This one's short and sweet, and a pretty easy cave. Really nice if you want to save it for a break while you're tackling longer and tougher caves, especially since it's so late game. Beating Longlegs is tough enough if you're a first-time player, and a fun little skirmish for most experienced fans. You'll unlock challenge mode after beating it, which I'm a little surprised to realize I've never really played much with all the hours I put in this game. The floors are easy enough, with some interesting puzzles and funky enemies. Fun cave with some alright enemies, and an insane amount of bitter spray apparently. It has Bulbmin, which is a win in my book any day. There are a few annoying parts, but nothing too bad. Until you get to the final boss, that is. The rematch with the Empress Bulbax is awful, because this time around, she gives birth during the battle. This would be fine if the Bullboard larvae took more than like 5 frames to kill your Pikmin. The battle starts with so many of them going down the hallway that you get swarmed really easily. Sure, you can punch them with a captain, but that's super tedious and my brain doesn't want it. Once you get into the fight, they end up not being much of a problem because the Empress just rolls over them when she attacks, which is very convenient. You can also just put a captain behind her and punch the babies when they come out every cycle, but I don't really want to do that, so. The rest of the cave has some tricky enemies and weird mechanics, but it's overall a really fun time. Would definitely be higher if it weren't for the awful boss fight.
Bird up!
A bit too tough for my taste, and later levels drop a lot of dwarf orange Bullborbs on you, but hey, it's Awakening Woods Endgame Cave. It has one of the most enjoyable bosses in the game if you're well prepared. I like the first pileated Snagart fight because it doesn't have the annoying quicksand that's not tankier than Eviolite Chansey against a special attacking team. You can take it out quickly enough and with minimal casualties, especially if you're using Spicy Spray. The burrowing Snagarts on level 4 can get annoying, and the metal textured levels drop way too many things on you, but it's still a pretty short, sweet, enjoyable cave. Speaking of sweet, Glutton's Kitchen is a really fun cave that shows off the Yellow's capabilities well. There are some annoying enemies, like the Spotty Bullbear on level 4 for no reason, that kept it out of S tier, but it's definitely one of my favorite caves. I hate the Spotty Bullbear in this game. The giant breadbug battle on the final floor is really unique, and one of the strangest boss fights in the series along with the Behemoth Fozbat. The breadbugs are funky guys and I love them, and I just really enjoy most of these layouts whenever I replay this cave. A lot of fun, great layouts, and it's decently long. The boss is a bit underwhelming because it gets cheesed by purples, but you get to use yellows and reds quite a bit in the rest of the cave. I mean, I didn't use reds, but we won't talk about that. And it's overall just a fun cave. It introduces orange Bullboards, which would definitely be annoying without purples, and it's a fun cave to fight your way through in general. I also really love this cave's music, which is pretty consistent all throughout. With all that said, let's move to our runner-up, the Hole of Heroes. So this is the longest cave in the game, giving you 1 treasure on each floor, besides rest floors, for a total of 15 floors and 13 treasures. There are boss floors on multiple levels, most of them a bit annoying, but definitely doable. The fact that it only has 1 treasure per floor makes it feel much more manageable, especially when each treasure is relatively close to the research pod. It makes it feel diverse and unique, but still challenging. in a way no other cave has felt. There aren't too many mandatory fire hazards, which helped me out quite a bit. The pileated snaglet is tanky as always, but you can beat it well enough, and you can even avoid activating the burrowing snaglet on the same level if you're careful. The ranging Boister's range is, ironically, small enough that you can avoid it long enough to beat up all the armored cannon beetle larvae, and then take it out pretty easily with purples, which I found out recently. Sub-level 9 is the Bullboard sub-level, which can be annoying if you don't tackle it right. By right, I mean purple Pikmin. Of course, it sucks the fiery Bulboax has the treasure, but that's not too bad in a normal run. After that is a floor with a couple Emperors and nothing too bad, and then it's the final Empress battle. She gives birth and makes rocks fall, but overall isn't too bad, because you don't have to travel through an entire sub-level to reach her. After that is a rest floor, and then 3 bosses in a row. First off, the infamous water Mana-Legs. For this guy, you gotta use blues because he's surrounded on all sides by water, and then you still have to have enough to take the treasure back. This level is always annoying, but it can be done. After that is a level full of Dweevils and a beady Longlegs. Easy enough, just watch out for the water. Right after that is Raging Longlegs, a boss I've always found enjoyable because its huge hitbox makes it satisfying to throw a bunch of Pikmin onto. Just take your time to kill the jelly floats beforehand, and you're good. After that, you're done with the longest cave in the game. The final cave in the game, that'll put all your Pikmin 2 skills, purples, to the test. I like this cave a lot because, while more difficult than other caves, it has free license to be. It's the final level, and from what I remember, most of what it throws at you is more fair than the majority of subterranean, complex, or submerged castle. Let's go ahead and discuss its sub-levels. First off, a level full of orange dwarf Bullboards and some Crawmads, which you can take out with, you guessed it, purple Pikmin. Sub-level 3 is full of bombs dropping from the sky, a couple Dirigibugs, and electricity and poison. It's all fun and games, stuff you've seen before, until the game drops a whole spotty Bullbear on you. If you use the bird's eye view cam, it's easy enough to spot even if you're unprepared, so you can take it down easily enough. Next with PTSD, I mean Complex's level 5 layout, which might make you panic at first, but it only has some cannon beetle larvae and anode beetles. Purples do the trick well enough, and there's only one treasure. Sub-level 5 is full of fire, which I'm sure was annoying for me, but red's clear in any other playthrough. Sub-level 6 is another jump scare, but there's no pileated snaglet this time. Get the treasure and leave while you still can. The next floor has a bunch of annoying flying guys that'll make you wish you had wings. The Pikmin, not actual wings. Sub-level 8 is that spiral sub-level with all the different Dweevils and hazards. Make your way slowly to the end and head to sub-level 9, which is a rest floor where you can replenish your sprays. 10 is the annoying water layout from Hole of Heroes, this time with more treasures and tougher enemies. It may take a while, but it's doable. There's a Groink there somewhere, but you just get a ton of bitter spray from the last floor, so you'll be fine. Level 11 has Breadbug, instantly better, and some poison hazards and Bronits. 12 has some rocks and poison, nothing too bad. Level 13 has 2 of each, red, orange, and hairy Bullborbs, and after that is the final showdown with the king of bugs, the Titan Dweevil. It's a really tough fight, but I'll leave that discussion for a boss fight tier list or something. After that, you beat the toughest boss in the game. Sometimes, maybe. Some people struggle more on other bosses, but I've reset a lot on this one. Well, I did it. That's all the caves from Pikmin 2 ranked. I'm not going to rank every real-life cave from Pikmin Bloom, so shut up. But comment below which one you like the best. I don't feel too strongly about any of these except its subterranean complex, but it'd be fun to see how you guys rank all these. As always, make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to see more Pikmin content like this. Now that Pikmis is coming to a close, I'll probably be taking a bit of a break from YouTube, but I'll be back for sure at some point in January. Follow me on Twitter for more updates about my mediocre content, and stay safe out there. This video was fun, but it's over now. So until next time, this is Shoot Kapow. Over and out. Right here. No, it's gonna be like up here. Watch that. Exploding. Cough moment. Speaking of exploding. Anyway, whites are funny little guys, but not really my favorite Pikmin type, and that's pretty much how Okay, thanks, throat. The audio and visual cues tip you off to when she's about to do her big. Whoa, what was that? You can also just put a captain behind her to punch the Bullboard. Me trying to improvise a line and messing it up every single time. But, you know, I don't really want to do that, so... Oh my gosh, stop doing that. It adds orange Bullborbs, which would... adds. No, it introduces them. You stupid. Why would you write that in the script? Not me trying to actually look at the camera while retaking my lines. And the camera refocusing every 5 seconds so I can't get the take done. I love YouTube.